When thinking about fire-breathing liberals, not moderates, but unadulterated and highly outspoken lefties, one of the first names you have to think of is Cenk Uygur, the founder of the Young Turks, which was one of the first liberal digital media giants and now has more than 5 million subscribers on YouTube, more than 6 billion views. It bills itself as the largest online news show in the world. So when Cenk speaks against the far left, I listen. And that's what happened recently when a well-known progressive stalwart, Ana Kasparian, a co-host of the Young Turks, tweeted, quote, "I'm a woman. Please don't ever refer to me as a person with a uterus, birthing person, or person who menstruates. How do people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing this." You get it. Now, to most people who don't live in a Twitter bubble, this would seem so obvious that it's not even worth saying. But those who do live in the Twitter bubble descended, calling her a Karen, a transphobe, a TERF, by the way, is a new term I learned, which is apparently slang for trans exclusionary radical feminist, intended as a slur used by some woke activists. And the controversy has only continued to grow.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the Young Turks once again, okay? Because if you guys didn't know, they've been at the center of a lot of drama because there's infighting going on the left, okay? Because on the left, you can never be woke enough, right? No matter how woke you are, even if you're 99.999% woke, right? That 0.00001% woke that you're not is enough to piss off the mob, right? To the point where they're going to harass you for months on end because you're not woke enough, okay? And that is what happened to Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian of TYT, okay? Because Ana Kasparian dared to declare that she's a woman, right? She's proud to be a woman. She doesn't even want to be called a birthing person or a menstruating person or whatever other woke term that they call women to belittle them nowadays, because apparently the rights of men that want to be women supersedes those of actual women. But anyways, yeah, they're facing a whole lot of backlash, right? And the issue with TYT is that over the past few months, or maybe even a year, they've gotten more red pill. Because like I tell you guys, the best way to red pill a leftist is to give them what they want, right? And we've seen all the woke Looney Tunes policies that these progressives have advocated for years come to fruition in California, right? And lo and behold, the Young Turks, who are progressive, they're woke, they have backlashed against soft on crime, progressive criminal justice reform, right? They don't like that because basically it's making it hard for them to even live without being robbed in the street somewhere in Los Angeles or San Francisco. They've come out against the Green New Deal, right, that's going on in California. Ana Kasparian was basically complaining about how the government doesn't incentivize the transition to green, even though it is super expensive for her to do, and they're basically forcing them to do it. And Ana Kasparian also recently came out against woke gender ideology, right? So they're pushing back on all the things that they once advocated for on their platform because they see how toxic it is. Now, Ana Kasparian has actually turned up the red pill evolution to a whole nother level, and she has issued an apology for having Ron DeSantis derangement syndrome, okay? And that hate for Ron DeSantis leading her to falsely report on the Rebekah Jones story. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the Rebekah Jones story, just to make a long story short, Rebekah Jones was a former employee at the Florida Department of Health, and she got fired for what she claims is refusing to understate the number of COVID deaths in Florida. Now, you guys know that that is a mainstream liberal media headline from the gods, right? A story like this, which is something that mainstream liberal media cover as factual, okay, back in 2020, okay? However, what she actually got fired for was for talking about her job, which is managing the Florida State's COVID dashboard. She got fired for talking about that to the press without authorization, okay? She also allegedly locked out employees from the dashboard and even crashed the dashboard at one point. But she spent basically years grifting off this idea that she was fired because Ron DeSantis wanted to cover up the number of COVID deaths in the state of Florida. Okay, which again, the mainstream liberal media went along with as factual, even though this was proven to be false. Okay, and she's also come forward against this crusade against Ron DeSantis, making even more claims that are lies, right? And the latest lie actually has her claiming that Ron DeSantis is responsible for kidnapping her son, even though she turned her son in for threatening to shoot up a school.
So last night I watched this story unfold right here. Rebekah Jones had tweeted that Ron DeSantis had basically kidnapped her 13-year-old son. And it took off wildfire, took off on Twitter, took off on TikTok. Everyone was sharing it, right? Even, I believe, Under the Desk News, it got to them. I mean, it blew up. She said that he was arrested, taken from her home because he shared a meme. Now, we all hate Governor DeSantis, and no one is putting it past him that he would actually do that, but yet there was not a shred of evidence that this is happening. I watched her GoFundMe go from 15,000 to, I believe it's at like 22,000. She has a separate button where you can just donate to her directly, so who knows how much money she has raised. This morning I woke up and there were hundreds of people who were sharing her GoFundMe and who were sharing her story and who were demanding that, Merrick Garland get involved, Department of Justice, and again, not a shred of evidence, y'all. The real story, or the story that is being presented by both the school and the county officials, is that this guy, and there are multiple witnesses, her son was actually threatening a school shooting. Multiple threats.
Right. So Ana Kasparian basically went over all the lies that Rebekah Jones has told over the years, and then came out and admitted that TYT and her got the initial story wrong because she had DeSantis derangement syndrome. Her hate for Ron DeSantis got in the way of her reporting the facts. And this is truly something glorious to behold, because you rarely see leftists come out here and issue these types of apologies and admit that their bias got in the way of their reporting. Take a look.
I want to correct all of those errors that we had previously reported. And I want to be clear that out of everyone who works on the main show, the only person who should be held responsible for that is me. I'm the executive producer of the show, and I screwed up royally. And part of the reason why I screwed up is because I had all these biases, of course, against Ron DeSantis. And I don't really feel bad about that, because I think Ron DeSantis has done some pretty terrible things in the state of Florida. But it becomes a problem when that bias blinds you to what the facts of various stories happen to be. And I should have done my due diligence. I failed to do so. And by failing to do so, I feel like I've misled the audience into thinking that Rebekah Jones is some sort of hero. Now, to be fair to myself and to be fair to other independent media sources, if you're not doing your own original reporting, you're relying on the mainstream media narrative a lot of the time. And if they're not doing their due diligence, if they're allowing their personal biases to stand in the way of actual factual reporting, well, that's unfortunately going to trickle into the way independent news sources cover these types of stories as well. Fact of the matter is, I want to make sure that I correct my errors, I get you guys accurate information, and I avoid helping someone who might be a grifter from fundraising off of our own audience members.
Yeah, so another sign that we're truly living in the twilight zone, right? Where TYT is actually becoming a respectable platform, at least over the last few days, okay? Now, they're still far left and woke, but what you're seeing is that they are reverting to a little bit of common sense and decency, and they're admitting the mistakes that they've made over the past few years, which is aligning with the furthest of the furthest left, okay, and also letting their political bias, their hate for certain individuals in the GOP get in the way of factual reporting, right? Which again takes a lot of cojones for Ana Kasparian to come out here and to admit and to issue an apology. And I actually have some respect for her for doing that, because the leftist mob is going to be upset about Ana Kasparian admitting this on camera, and Rebekah Jones herself also issued a threat towards TYT following their expose of her lies about DeSantis. Take a look.
Hey everyone, just giving you a heads up. We have a pretty epic takedown of the Young Turks coming soon. Editing it now with some friends, and we will have it out to you soon. I was just made aware of this either last night or this morning, went through it, and the Young Turks are in trouble. That's an unfortunate thing. But we'll get it out to you, and of course all of the accompanying links and proof, and have it out to you as soon as we can. Thank you all.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Apparently the Young Turks are in trouble, right? They're in trouble for this backtracking of Rebekah Jones. But in regards to Ana Kasparian, being somebody that I guess you could also say is an independent media, she's right, okay? It is tough for independent media to report on things because a lot of times, you know, you have to rely on the mainstream liberal media, right? What you're seeing in the media, what they're saying is what happens, unless you actually were there, okay? Which is extremely hard for somebody in independent media to do, is to be at every scene and to be at every story to know, you know, what happened, or to get an eyewitness account of what happened. You have to rely on the mainstream liberal media, right? But you have to understand that the mainstream liberal media is biased, right? And they're biased in favor of the Democrats and whatever narrative the Democrat Party is trying to push. And see, that's the mistake that TYT made here, right? They went along with everything that the media was saying because just like the mainstream liberal media, they hate Ron DeSantis too, right? So some whistleblower or alleged whistleblower comes out and says that, you know, Ron DeSantis is trying to fudge the numbers to undercount the number of COVID deaths in Florida. Again, that's straight out of a mainstream liberal media reporter's dream, right? That's exactly what they want to hear, right? And when you're hearing what you want to hear, sometimes you need to take a step back and say, hey, is this too good to be true? Is this too good to be true? Let me look a little bit deeper into this. Let me be careful with this story. Happens all the time, right? I've made this mistake before, going along with what the mainstream liberal media is saying, and then it turns out that story of what they were saying was false, right? And this is why I say every time you hear a story that is too good to be true, you have to double, triple, and quadruple check it to make sure that it's true, or at the very least, you need to be cautious about how you report on it, in the sense that, you know, for me personally, you know, I say allegedly all the time. You guys haven't noticed. Now, sometimes I'm being sarcastic, like when I say that, you know, Kamala Harris allegedly has a vagina or something like that, right? I'm trying to be funny, right? I'm trying to be sarcastic, okay? I'm trying to be disingenuous when I say it sometimes. But a lot of times, most of the time when I say it as a cover, because really, you don't know, right? You really don't know what actually happened in any of these stories because you're not an eyewitness, right? You weren't there to witness this. You're getting secondhand information, and you're trying to come to a conclusion or to commentate or to have an opinion on secondhand information. Again, TYT is big, but they ain't big enough where they actually have real reporters on the ground, okay? So that's why I always say allegedly. Allegedly, this is what happened. Allegedly, this is what they said. And the reason why is because, again, you just really don't know, right? And that's why you have to be cautious. If, you know, TYT reports on this story fairly and says, hey, you know, this is what she's saying. However, this is alleged. We really don't know. Instead of just rolling with it as if it's fact, then you would have to issue an apology, right? Because you've already covered yourself by, you know, essentially just saying, look, this is what allegedly happened. We really don't know. I do it all the time, right? I do it all the time. This is what allegedly happened. We really don't know. Maybe it could be something different. Who knows, right? That's what I say, because I don't really know. But what I don't do is let my political bias or my hate for somebody get in the way of the facts, like this person did. You let your hate for Ron DeSantis and your agenda against Ron DeSantis get in the way of factual reporting, right? You went along with a lunatic, right? A serial liar in her story that she made up about DeSantis because you hate DeSantis. I mean, there's a lot of stories that come out on the right about Joe Biden, right? That are crazy, that I don't necessarily come up here and report because I'm like, no. I actually have to have some real concrete evidence for me to come out here and make this claim about Joe Biden, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to let my dislike for Joe Biden get in the way of me putting things out there that, you know, at the very least, I'm confident it's factual. It's really that simple. But again, this apology and her explanation of the apology is exactly what I'm talking about. It's proof that, again, the left-wing liberal media, again, has a bias towards Democrats. And Ana Kasparian, again, is admitting that, yeah, we reported on this not because it was actually factual, it's because I just hate DeSantis, right? Which is the same reason that the mainstream liberal media went with it instead of actually checking it, right? You see how this goes? With the Hunter Biden story, right? They had to do their due diligence, right? CBS News and a bunch of other mainstream liberal outlets didn't pick up on the story, didn't think to look into the story for 2 years, right? After it didn't matter anymore. But at the time when it came out, they said, oh no, we're cautious about this. This is too good to be true, right? For Trump, it's Russian disinformation, right? It's either Russian disinformation or they ignored it. But it's Rebekah Jones' story though. Oh man, we gotta roll with this immediately, right? We're not gonna fact check this. We're not gonna look into this person to see if these claims are actually credible. No, we're gonna roll with it as if it's facts because it makes DeSantis look bad. It's amazing how that works. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.